All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to Let's Play Chrono Trigger. We're on episode 8 today, and we're kind of just past the halfway point in the game. So we've completed the Ocean Palace. For those of you who played the game before, we've completed the Ocean Palace, which is sort of the big mid-game dungeon that culminates in kind of one of the classic 1990s Japanese RPG plot twists. And also kind of shifts the structure of the game quite dramatically. We have one more kind of forced linear experience, like dungeon to go through, which we'll do today. The Blackbird, and then after that, the game goes from a fairly linear experience into like a wide open subquest focused back half. And that's going to be a lot of fun for the stream because we can kind of play them in any order, and we can kind of tackle that however we want to and with any kind of party combination. And so it really changes the feel of the game, and I'm looking forward to I always look forward to this part when I get there. If you don't know, I'll kind of give my just quick spiel about Chrono Trigger. It's in my opinion kind of the culmination of the 8-bit and 16-bit kind of design of Japanese RPGs. It takes everything that was sort of like created and popularized on the NES, the Master System, the Mega Drive, the Super Nintendo, and smashes them all into one game, taking the best of Dragon Quest, the best of Final Fantasy, and everything in between, and really pulls it off in a way that remains impressive today. It's my favorite game of all time. I've played it a million times. Today, and for Let's Play Chrono Trigger, we're doing a New Game Plus playthrough, so that allows me to bring in like overpowered characters from a previous playthrough and play through the whole game again with them. It's fairly common gameplay mechanic nowadays in Japanese RPGs, but back when Chrono Trigger came out, it was pretty much the first implementation, especially in a game on the scale of Chrono Trigger. It gave us the name New Game Plus, and it's a lot of fun because it allows us to kind of focus just on the exploration and the story, which I think is a real strength of Chrono Trigger. If you're curious about the game, you've never played it before, or maybe you're a longtime fan and want to learn more, I wrote a piece on Medium called Timeless, A History of Chrono Trigger. It's a deep dive into the game and the people who made it, a personal history of what makes it so special and why it's endured after so many years, 25 years, going on 26 years now. And I poured a lot into that piece. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written, and I think you'll enjoy it no matter what your experience with Japanese RPGs or Chrono. So let's kick things off. We are 5 hours into the game, about halfway through. We've just arrived back kind of on the mainland in 12,000 BC. Zeal has fallen. The Ocean Palace has been defeated, conquered, and most of this world has been destroyed. You can see here, if I go to the world map, mostly ocean. Before this, it was, there was quite a bit more land to wander around on. What I need to do now is go to this area. Here, the commons. What's going to happen here is I talk to the elder, find out what's been going on, and now King Dalton, who's not actually the king, but he's sort of trying to fill in the power vacuum left by the destruction of Zeal, appears and kind of kidnaps us. And then we end up on his big ship, the Blackbird. That's how he survived the fall of Zeal, is by using his big airship. So we get taken prisoner on the airship, and while we're there, we lose access to all of our items, all of our equipment, all of our items. And so one of the kind of big keys to this part of the game, even on like a New Game Plus run, is to have Isla in your party, who's the one there on the right. She doesn't use any weapons, so she can continue to attack in battle even after all your weapons are stolen. And so she can make this part of the game quite a bit smoother as you go through this dungeon. And so you could get you can use any of the characters except Chrono, who died in the last episode. But bringing Isla along makes things much better. So the whole point of the Blackbird is we're on this ship and we're supposed to kind of sneak around, get all of our items back, get all of our equipment back, so that we can get off the plane. This is another one of Chrono Trigger's like really cool, kind of bespoke, hand-drawn pixel art scenes where you get to see the whole Blackbird there. Really impressive. We're locked in here. I climb up an air duct. This is going to be one of the games. I kind of gave a disclaimer early on in this series that I've played Chrono Trigger a lot. I know it very well, but I'm not encyclopedic about it. I'm not a speedrunner, so I don't always take optimal routes. I don't always actually remember my way through, like, seamlessly through all the dungeons, and this is one of them. I don't know, the best way through this dungeon, even after, having played through it dozens of times. And so we're going to go look around, try to get some of our equipment back. There we go. So Marl's equipment back. So if you don't have Isla, that's one of the first things you're going to want to do is come to this room, because I'm able to get your lead party members' equipment back, which now means I have 2 characters in my party who will be able to actually partake in battle, which is obviously good. So you have your 3 party members' equipment, and then you have your money and your items that you want to retrieve. And we're going to get all of them. I think on some speedruns they actually skip getting the money back, if I remember correctly. Because they've really kind of nailed down exactly, like, what items you need for any given fight, how many potions, how many this or that or whatever. And so as they've kind of really honed in on that, they figured out what they can sell, how they can kind of make money on the fly that way. So if you have your items back, you can sell a few of them and get the money you need to upgrade your equipment and stuff. But obviously we don't need to worry too much about that in this playthrough, but we will still get everything back. Who's that? This is a fun dungeon because Zeal kind of mixes a whole lot of different, like, genre tropes together. It's kind of, it's 12,000 BC. It's set a long time ago. But then Zeal is also this kind of high-end magical society, and the Blackbird is, like, very science fiction-y, and so you just get, like, a ton of different variety, and the Blackbird is kind of fun after after having gone through some of the other eras. You saw I went into that one room and there was a ladder. That's where I need to go to complete the dungeon, but first I want to get all of my items back before I do that. So you can theoretically finish this dungeon very quickly if you're not concerned about your equipment and stuff. But I mean, certainly on a new game plus or a regular playthrough, you're going to need your to be at the top, full flight before you can take down the the boss here. Once you hit this second half of the game, Chrono dies. He sacrifices himself to save the party from Lavos, which is, pretty dramatic, just narratively. And obviously one of the kind of plot twists that I think a lot of people look back on from this era as being one of the most dramatic. But what it also does is, without Chrono, now you don't have any, required characters that you have to use. So you can make up a party of any different subgroup. And this is fun because it really opens up different types of strategies. When Chrono's in your party, he's dealing a ton of damage, and you rely on him a lot. But when you switch things up and take him out of your party, you get to kind of really mess around with, you know, how combat feels and what sort of things you can accomplish and get up to, and what sort of strategies you can use. I'm using an all women party, which is a common one for me to use. Marl and Luca balance each other out really nicely, and then Isla can do a ton of single enemy damage. So she kind of replaces Chrono in that way, but she's also Marl and Isla are nice together on a regular playthrough, a first playthrough, because they can steal items from enemies, and that can become really useful when you're in the Black Omen, which is like the game's sort of final dungeon, an optional final dungeon, and you can steal some pretty significant armor and items and stuff off enemies in those places. You can steal tabs, which are single-use items that like up specific attributes. So you can use that if you want to kind of max out character speed and stuff like that. You can steal Nova armor, gold studs, which really kind of helps supplement your save game for a New Game Plus playthrough also. But we're almost done here. That'll be Isla's equipment, and so we just need our gold at this point. All three of our party members, we've got their equipment back. We've got our items back, right? And now it's the gold? Or did we get our gold and now we need our items? I'll check. You can see Isla there just did a ton of damage, 9,999. I have her equipped with a Berserker that just makes her attack, gives her haste, I think. It makes her attack. But also, because she's max level, star, she has something called a Bronze Fist. So she doesn't use traditional like items, equipment. Instead, she has a fist that changes and evolves as she reaches certain level thresholds. And so when you're at max level, she gets the Bronze Fist, and it is just very strong. It has a strong base attack, but it's also guaranteed max damage for any critical hits. So she can single-handedly take down bosses very quickly. Though, of course, I'm at max level and no battle in the game, no enemy in the game is really going to cause much trouble. There we go. I've got everything back, so now I just need to go return to the ladder that I skipped earlier. It's right up here. And we're gonna wrap up Blackbird, and this battle out here can actually be pretty tough in a regular playthrough, but it's also kind of fun, especially, not least of which is because of the setting on the wing of the Blackbird. It just looks cool, and then we make our way onto the Epoch, which is our time machine that we've been kind of warping around in. It's been static up to this point, but Dalton gets his hands on it, and that changes. And once we get past this boss battle and the next boss battle, 2 in a row, we end up regaining the Epoch, and it has wings. We get to fly around, and that's when the world and the game just completely opens up. And that's when things get really fun. So if anybody in chat has any suggestions for which subquests we want to tackle first, I'm happy. I'm open to ideas. So here we go. Here's Dalton. He's outfitted the Epoch with wings. He calls it the Aero Dalton Imperial, which is needlessly tacky. A little bit of a fourth wall breaking there, which is always fun. Chrono Trigger doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also doesn't always break the fourth wall, but that's kind of a fun little break a tradition there. Always feels really good to beat Dalton. He's one of the antagonists, like one of the like just true, honest to goodness antagonists in the game. He, you know, Queen Zeal, you sort of understand why she's acting the way she is, even if she's kind of acting in an awful way. Whereas Dalton is just straight up like a bad dude. He's just privileged and has, you know, immense expectations for how the world will sort of bow to him, despite being completely mediocre in every way that matters. So it just feels good to crush them. Especially because we got a flying time machine out of the deal. This should be pretty quick. Yeah, here we go. So now he tries to summon Golem boss again. Because Lord forbid he get himself out of a pickle. And he gets kind of sucked off into whatever other dimension. Sucked away into whatever other dimension he's been summoning those golems from. And here we go. This is fun because at this point you kind of like you don't know how to fly the Epoch, and so you actually have to just randomly press buttons on the controller as though you're, you know, Marl sitting in the control seat and flying the Epoch. So there goes the Blackbird. Called the Blackbird, but I've always kind of felt like it looks more insect-like, in the same way that the Black Omen looks insect-like. You know, the Black Omen kind of is shaped more like a dragonfly or something. I don't know what its Japanese name is. I'd be curious to look into that. All right, so here we go. Now we can fly around, and Luca and Marl are obviously, and Isla as well, like their main goal here is going to be to try to get Chrono back. You know, they're time travelers, so why not use that to figure out how to save him? And that's kind of the main, like, major side plot, or side quest, I should say, in the back half of the game is recovering Chrono, but it's also optional, which is obviously super interesting. Like a Japanese RPG where like the main character dies and can just stay dead throughout the rest of the game, which is really remarkable. This mysterious sapling is something that earlier in the game I talked to this woman and she asked me, she had been told to burn the sapling, and I told her not to, hang on to it. So now she has it, and that becomes important later in one of the other subquests as well. Okay, so now, because of the destruction of Zeal, you have the Earthbound ones who have been sort of living down here. Most of the land is destroyed, but they're also mixed with the people of the Kingdom of Zeal, who now have no home. And so they have to, you know, team up, and they have to kind of reconcile their differences to ensure that, you know, humanity can survive. The hubris of Zeal and the power that they wanted to wield kind of was, you know, wrought the downfall of their kingdom, but at the same time, you know, it did force kind of humanity to come together. So I've switched Frog into my party, the lead of my party, because we are going to go pick up a new party member who's also an optional party member and happens to be Magus. The kind of, I would say he's sort of the big bad guy for the first half of the game, or the first act of the game at least. But your goals sort of align in the second half as you try to, you know, both take down Lavos. My party wants to take him down to save the future. Magus wants to take Lavos down because he blames Lavos for his sister's disappearance. And so he wants to try to figure out where she is and also get vengeance for her disappearance. So this is all happening. I think this is like when... I don't know exactly when this is happening, but you can see here the three sages, so Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar, getting, pulled away into different time zones. So Balthazar is the one that created the Epoch, Gaspar is the old man and the end of time, and then Melchior is pulled off into 1000 AD, and he's the one that helps us fix the Masamune. So they all get kind of pulled off into different time zones. Janus, who was Magus as a kid, gets sent to 600 AD. And we're about to see that he gets picked up by Ozzy, and at that point, and then that's how he kind of starts off on becoming the Dark Lord. So this is kind of when you find out that, Gaspar is one of the sages. He's the one that's been helping you sort of navigate, negotiate, like all of this whole adventure from the end of time. Ozzy's just, hanging out in Truce Canyon, just lounging, just, far away from his own castle. No big deal. You don't have to bring Frog to this scene, but you do get some extra dialogue, and just thematically, it's, a nice, it's a nice moment in the game. Yeah, so he's kind of revealing his plan. He got, sent into 600 AD, and so he's been trying to plot revenge against Lavos since that point, and then gets pulled into 12,000 AD, which allows him to use his kind of knowledge of the past to convince Queen Zeal that he's a prophet, in hopes of summoning and defeating Lavos. At that point, and obviously, like, based on what's happened, Lavos was too strong. I think because of the Mammon machine, he was too strong to, like, for, even Chrono in the party to defeat. Certainly Magus on his own couldn't defeat Lavos. So now we kind of have to figure that out. Magus just challenged Frog to a fight. And I was given the choice to fight Magus, in which case you fight him, you defeat him, he dies. But I chose not to fight him. Frog is basically saying, like, listen, like, it's not going to bring Cyrus back. Like, this is a foolish feud. Because of this, now Magus comes and joins our party. And Magus is pretty cool. I know on speed runs, the party that they often use is this one, Magus, Robo, and Isla, because what I can do, and I don't think I'm going to play with this party right now, but what you can do is put one of the rocks on. Which one is it? Silver rock, white rock. Do I have the party wrong? Maybe it's not Isla. Maybe it's Luca. Yeah, here we go. Omega Flare. So I need Luca instead of Isla. Because you do this party, and then Omega Flare is just really strong. It's just it does a ton of damage, and it's very, like, MP efficient. It's very time efficient. I was talking on the last stream about how one of the things that I find unique about Chrono Trigger is that, like, other games that have kind of featured, like, combo attacks and stuff, some of them do a better job than others in terms of, like, making the combo attacks actually worth it. Like, in a lot of them, you get, like, an opportunity cost that doesn't outweigh the benefits of the combo attack. So, like, it's just better to use 3 of your party members one at a time than it is to to team up, use all 3 of their turns at once. But Chrono Trigger's not like that. It's generally better to be using dual techs and triple techs in terms of like maximizing your efficiency in combat. And so, anyway, speedrunners use this party, apparently. I've watched Puexel, who is a speedrunner, play through the game a number of times, and by this point in the game, like, he does switch out here and there for certain boss battles and stuff, but using Omega Flare against these against bad guys and bosses and stuff seems to be a fairly common strategy. So the Ocean Palace, which is the big dungeon that we went through at during the last stream, just rose from the ocean and has become the Black Omen. Why it looks totally different than before, I don't know, but there it is. And so now we're in sort of the second half of the game, where we have like all these options to do like a million different subquests. Most of them tie back into like one of the party members, and we'll kind of see what that looks like, and then choose one of those to kind of wrap up this stream. This is always a melancholy, emotional part of the game. Chrono has passed away, and there's sort of a moment to remember him. And this is interesting because Magus is saying, like, only the Guru of Time can help, which, as we now know, Gaspar is the is the Guru of Time, and so they're having a little conversation about where Gaspar kind of recognizes Magus as Janus, and they knew each other way back when, of course, way more than 12,000 years ago, infinite number of years ago. So we want to bring Chrono back. Chrono must be proud to have friends like you. And here we go. So we have to try to leave, and then Gaspar will tell us that we need the Chrono Trigger, which is a time egg. And this is sort of like, the key to bringing Chrono back, the key to unsetting time, your potential. And that's where the game gets its name from as well. One thing I think that some people might not know is that Chrono's name in the game is Crono, whereas the word itself is Chrono. And that's because of character limits, that they couldn't fit the full name Chrono into the 5-character limit for character names, so you get Chrono, Crono, which I kind of think makes a little more sense. Having him named Chrono, Chrono, rather than like yes, very similar name, I think would have felt kind of weird. Okay, so I've got the Chrono Trigger, and now he's going to tell us a bit of what we need to do. So ask the one who made the Epoch Wings of Tim how to hatch it. Like any egg, it represents the possibility. It may or may not hatch, but the Chrono Trigger gives you the potential to get your friend back. The egg will have an equal effect to your effort. Don't forget that. Okay. Here that is. So I'm supposed to go to 2300 AD and talk to Balthazar, which is where we'll go. On my last playthrough, conveniently, I warp right to where Balthazar is in Keeper's Dome. So that's handy. Last time I played through the game, I I used this party in the end game, and so it was the first time, maybe the first time I ever played through the Chrono revival subplot. Hey Andrew, how's it going? Yeah, taking Dalton down is always worth watching for sure. He's already been vanquished, however, so I just started sort of the back half of the game. I've got the Epic in full flight mode, and I'm kind of searching down the Guru of Time, or the Guru of something, Balthazar. What was I saying? I can't remember. Oh, anyway, yeah, it might have been the first time I ever did this Chrono revival subplot without Marl in my party, and so when you conclude it, you get a scene where if you have Marl or Luca, one of them will go and give Chrono a hug. And I think Marl, if you have Marl in your party, she'll always be the one to go. If you have Luca but not Marl, then she'll be the one to go. Or if you have any combination of that. And so this was the first time that I didn't bring Marl, was my last playthrough, and so I actually saw the scene of Luca going and giving Chrono a hug, and that's just like a scene I've never seen before, despite having played the game so many times. And it's just always fun when a game that you love and a game that you've poured so much time and effort into can still surprise you. So the game doesn't have many like bad parts to it. This might be one of them, though. I have to go to the Millennial Fair and go to Norstein Beckler's lab, which is like a little mini game area. I have to get points to be able to play the games, and then I have to play this like silly Simon Says game to be able to get the clone doll that I need to be able to revive Chrono. And it's just like, it's weird after like having gone through all of this like, pretty intense, pretty emotional story stuff, that now I'm just like playing mini games at the fair. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of, I feel like it's a bit of a momentum slowdown that the game doesn't really need at this point. And also like the mini game that you have to play, like matching what the clone does, is also just sort of irritating. You can, if I had done that game earlier, I'd already have the clone doll. And so maybe what I need to do is, like on playthroughs, is make sure that I'm just doing the game early enough that I don't have to do it right now. But at any rate, it's kind of weird having to do this right now. Okay, should be enough. Fighting, I'm pretty sure fighting Gato is the fastest, most efficient way to get silver points. Certainly faster than betting on the races or trying to do the bell and hammer for one silver point a turn. Okay, so there's a couple of different options that I have to be able to oh yeah, no, never mind. I just I can only play this game when I need the Chrono clone. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so Norstein Beckler will just sell you the clone. Okay. If you're not good at the game, I always forget about that. So it's still like a momentum killer, but at least you're not stuck having to beat this game. Okay, here we go. So left arm, right arm. So Y is left, A is surprise. Making this easy on me. Oh. Can you earn the clone your first time through the fair? And if so, I wonder how that changes the conversation. Yeah, you can. You can get the clone early on. And I don't know how it changes it. I probably got the clone early on when I was a kid. But I don't know how it changes. Like, I can't remember it because in subsequent playthroughs, I never go get the clone early on. Like, I always wait until this point. I don't know. It's a good question. Okay. This is also a good time to in the game to go around and open up a bunch of the chests that you need the pendant for. I'm not going to go through and do all of that in this playthrough. I think it's repetitive and not super interesting. But I will go get this. I will go get this here. Just because this blue pyramid is kind of beautiful, and I like this little location. You can get this quite a bit earlier before you do the Ocean Palace, and I do recommend, especially on a first playthrough, coming back here to get specifically the Swallow. So you get a choice of between one of two treasure chests, and one of them has a sword called the Swallow, which is like Chrono's second best weapon, and you can get it quite early on in the game. It makes a big difference in regular playthroughs. Increases strength and will guard your life. So you can get the Swallow on the right and the and I think a Safe Helm on the left. Safe Helm protects your status. They're both good, but the Swallow, certainly on a first playthrough, the Swallow is what you want to get. I've never been able to figure out what those treasure chests is supposed to look like. They almost look like, a little face with a big bushy mustache to me. And I've never been able to figure out what they're actually meant to look like. I'm going to head back to the future and turn in the... or go talk to Balthazar again. And actually, I'm going to do one other thing first. So now that we're back here, I can go activate a gate that I don't have activated back in the end of time. And you don't have to do this, but it's nice too. So now I can open up those Mammon machine doors, and you get some pretty strong treasures. When you do, again, you can do that quite a bit earlier in the game. But before you have the Epoch with the wings and you can't fly around, it's not very time efficient. But it is worthwhile on a regular playthrough. So now I have all the time gates available in the end of time. Doesn't matter because I have the Epoch now, but just for completionist's sake, I always like to do that. So we're coming up on the end of this play session. I do these every Tuesday at about 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on my lunch break. And so I appreciate everybody who's dropped by today to say hello. And okay, so I have the clone. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap up here just before we head out to Death Peak. It's a pretty big dungeon, so I don't want to tack it onto the end of this and have to rush through it. We'll stop right here. It'll give us a really nice focus for the next stream in a week, next Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I spend about 45 minutes every time playing through Chrono Trigger, and now we're getting really into the meat of the second half of the game. We'll head up Death Peak, revive Chrono, and then we're off to the races in terms of doing all the side quests and stuff. So I really look forward to that. Yeah, Andrew, I think it's the Mammon machine as well, but those little sealed chests are just so tiny. But I've never, like, even knowing it's supposed to be the Mammon machine, I can't quite like grasp it. I can't wrap my head around that visualization, but that makes a lot of sense. Same as the doors. Cool. That was great. Thanks so much for joining me. I do this as part of streaming for my newsletter, Astrolabe. You can see it right there above me, aiden.substack.com. You can head there to subscribe. It's totally free. I publish about 2 issues a month, more or less. My most recent one just came out yesterday. It features an interview with Krista Makes, who's the vocalist, guitarist of kind of ska pop punk band Less Than Jake. They've been around forever. I had a chance to chat with him about kind of creative perseverance during troubling times. Like, how do you work? How do you create and maintain creative momentum during something like a pandemic? It was awesome to chat with him. He's a brilliant guy, super nice, great storyteller as well. So I wrote up that conversation about that in yesterday's issue, and then tomorrow the full interview, a video of the full interview is coming out. But above and beyond that, I write about science fiction and fantasy books. I write about writing. I write a lot about retro video games, including a regular column called Late to the Party, where I play old, sometimes obscure, Japanese RPGs, or I'll play games, retro games that I've never played before, and I stream them here. And then write about them in the newsletter. You can subscribe totally for free, aiden.substack.com, and check out all the back issues that way. I also archive video on demand copies of all of these streams on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/AidenMoher. So you can go check out all the previous episodes of Let's Play Chrono Trigger. You can go check out a bunch of Late to the Party streams as well. And I appreciate you stopping by today. I can't wait to get back to this next week and save Chrono. So thanks so much for joining. I'll catch you